What's up, everybody? I'm back, and I'm continuing to go over everything that was being printed in the press at the time of Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey's arrest, everything that was going on during their trial, and everything post-trial as well. Now, we are well into the post-trial portion of these videos, and the first article from today is from December 15th, 2011, and it is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal. And the headline is, Supreme Court won't review Steven Avery's conviction. The Wisconsin Supreme Court turned down a request from a previously exonerated convict to review his homicide case. Avery argued on appeal that he wanted a new trial because he should have been allowed to blame others for her death. The appeals court rejected his arguments in September. His public defender asked the Supreme Court to review the case. According to online court records, the Supreme Court decided Wednesday not to review the case. So we know that Steven Avery hasn't been back inside of a courtroom since his initial trial back in 2007. But it's still weird to me that they weren't allowed to suggest that other people could have been responsible for the crime. This could affect people in all kinds of different ways. Imagine, you're sitting there, you're innocent, you possibly even know who committed the crime, but you're not even allowed to suggest that that person was involved in the crime. You're not allowed to point fingers at somebody else who maybe you know for 100% did it, but yet you're the one sitting there on trial for this crime. And you can't be like, I didn't do it, this person did it, and here's why. It's really bizarre to me that that's even a thing. I don't know why. I can understand if you're going to point the finger at 100 different people. That's a bit much. But if you for certain have evidence where you can be like, this person, there's a reasonable possibility that this person committed the crime, and here's why. Not just be like, oh, John Smith over there did it just because I think he did it. You should be able to be like, this is why I think John Smith did it, and here's why, and then explain why you think it. Not just randomly point the finger at 100 different people, but if you have proof or a reasonable possibility that this person committed the crime, and you're sitting on trial for it, you should be able to say this person did it. It's weird to me. This next one is from August 15th, 2013. So they're really jumping up here. Man convicted in notorious slang won't get a new trial. The Wisconsin Supreme Court won't hear a Manitowoc man's arguments for a new trial in one of the state's most notorious homicides. Brendan Dassey, who is now 23, was sentenced to life in prison for no parole for 41 years in 2007 in connection with the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach. The killing drew extraordinary attention because Dassey's uncle, Steven Avery, was also convicted in the crime. Dassey's attorneys contend police coerced his confession and his trial attorneys were ineffective. A state appeals court rejected those arguments in January. The Supreme Court's announcement offered no explanation. It's 41 years, and I said this in the last couple of videos, he still has 25 years to go as of making this video. It's November 14th, 2023. He's not eligible for parole until November 1st, 2048. So it's 25 years less a few days, which is insane. If he's still in prison for the next 25 years, where there's absolutely no proof that he was involved in this crime, there is no physical evidence that Brendan Dassey was linked to this crime. Zero physical evidence that Brendan Dassey was linked to the murder of Teresa Halbach, but yet he still sits in prison. He's already been in prison for what, since 2006 to 2023? That's March to November, so 17 and a half years, and another 25 to go? Just absolutely crazy. This next article is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal, and it is from June 30th, 2014. Now, this is about Michael Griesbach's book, Book details infamous Avery case. Author hopes to educate criminal justice system about the wrongful conviction and subsequent murder. Manitowoc County man's conviction for killing a photographer 2 years after being released from prison for a crime he didn't commit was one of the most dramatic criminal cases in recent state history. Almost a decade later, the story of Steven Avery's 1985 wrongful conviction and the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach have been detailed in a book written by a prosecutor involved with Avery's exoneration. Out of what otherwise is such a tragic story, we should always look for some kind of hope, and if anything can come from the whole story, is that the criminal justice system can learn something from it. The innocent killer will be released August 7th by the American Bar Association. In the book, Griesbach accused the rape case prosecutor Dennis Vogel and then Sheriff Tom Krasurik of ignoring the strong evidence against Gregory Allen, including that he was accused of similar crimes on the same, sorry, I gotta go to the next page here, on the same beach where Penny Bernstein was assaulted. But Steven Avery, then 23, already had been in trouble burning a cat and being accused of exposing himself to a sheriff's deputy's wife, so he quickly became the prime suspect. The prosecutor and sheriff relied heavily on Penny Bernstein's pointing to Avery in a lineup. They never gave her a lineup that included Gregory Allen. In 2003, the then state attorney general Peg Lautenschager concluded that no criminal charges or ethics violations should be brought against any of the officials involved in the investigation and prosecution of Avery. Griesbach, who helped the office during Steven Avery exoneration, said in a 2011 State Bar magazine that the prosecutor and sheriff had moral shortcomings. Perhaps they failed to appreciate the wrongfulness of their conduct. After all, ridding the streets of dangerous miscreants like Mr. Avery is part of their job, Griesbach wrote. But regardless of their intent, the devastating aftermath of their actions is a tragic example of the unintended consequences that can flow from a single wrong. Messages left by the Associated Press for Vogel and Krasurik were not returned. Of course not. Griesbach suggested Halbach might be alive today if not for the wrongful conviction, saying Avery's prison time exacerbated his psychopathic tendencies. He noted that Avery told his wife he was trying to get his life back in line, so maybe Avery would have been successful in changing or going down the same path and landing in prison for a different crime. He said several law professors around the country have already requested the book and hopes this will make future prosecutors and attorneys more aware of the enormous responsibility they possess. Meanwhile, Halbach's brother Mike is unhappy about the book. Violence doesn't have to be made into entertainment, especially when additional undue harm is caused towards those who were victimized in the first place, he said by email. Griesbach said the only regret about the book is if the negativity affects the Halbach family. Penny Bernstein wrote the book's postscript and said she can understand the sentiments of the Halbach family, but she hopes the book serves as a learning tool for prosecutors using suspect lineups. Not to learn from a case is to invite history to repeat itself. The next article here is from July 3rd, 2014, and it is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal. It states, "Victims deserve more coverage than convicts." Former Manitowoc County Assistant District Attorney Michael Griesbach played a significant role in releasing back into society an obvious, dangerous psychopath, Steven Avery, who went on to murder Teresa Halbach. What a massive conflict of interest. Anything Griesbach writes about the case is tainted by his obvious interest in avoiding blame. Perhaps in the book he wrote he accepts some responsibility, but that didn't appear in Monday's Associated Press article. I have watched with increasing distress reports on wrongful convictions across a wide range of media. I have waited for just one report on a law school program or other volunteer effort to come to the assistance of the innocent victims of the crime. If there has been one, I missed it. The closest I've seen has been coverage of restorative justice programs looking to the victims of crime to assist in the rehabilitation of the criminal who harmed them. What is the social pathology that grants convicted criminals massive more media coverage and efforts on their behalf than what is granted to their victims? John Wick, Black Earth. That might be, I don't know if that's an article by someone that works for the paper or like a letter to the editor or something like that. The next article, and the last one we're going to go over today, is from July 7th, 2014 from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal. It is also about the book. Avery book has valuable lessons. Those who try to solve crimes have a responsibility to conduct thorough investigations, reach reasonable conclusions, and arrest the right suspect. They have a sworn duty to get it right. But we live in the real world where that doesn't always happen. One of the most egregious examples is the saga of Steven Avery. He spent 18 years in prison after being wrongfully convicted in 1985. 2 years after his release from prison, Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey were convicted of killing Teresa Halbach. The questions remain. A number are raised in the book, The Innocent Killer. Subjects like the potential unreliability of suspect lineups, the danger of jumping to conclusions, or targeting suspects based on their past actions all jump from the pages. I have one of Michael Griesbach's books. I don't think it's that one. I don't even know where it is. I think it's over there. I don't think I've read that one. I'm definitely going to see if I can find it somewhere, if I can pick it up, maybe on Amazon or something like that. I'm definitely going to have a look for it and give it a read. I hadn't heard of that one before. I don't think. I do have one of his books. I just don't remember which one it is. I don't think it's that one. It could be, but I don't think it is. But those are the articles we're going to go over today. We're getting close to when Making a Murderer started to air. That would, of course, I believe was in December of 2015. So we're getting closer. What do you think? What did you think of that book if you did indeed read it? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.